Hi! On the Woodpecker today, as a Christmas gift to Renée last year, I made this woodpecker. But she painted it herself. If you want to know how we did it, stay with me. Renée really likes bird trinkets. Here are just a few samples of what we've got at home. But there's no woodpecker. So last Christmas, I decided to fix this. First of all, I find a 3D model of a woodpecker on the tree and buy it. It's in two parts. To make a single model for it, I use Blender. I'm not sure how this program works, but one thing I can see is that the model is too big. I shrink the tree and the bird by tenfold. Then I rotate it so it's level with the ground. This will make the rest easier. But I want to rotate the tree. To do so, I move its origin on its center. Now, when I rotate it, it turns on itself. When the branches are where I want them to be, I can put the woodpecker in place. This is done by a combination of moving it and rotating it. This takes a bit of time, but I manage. When I'm happy with it, I still have one last operation to do. The model has over 2 million faces. I reduce this amount by 2/3 and save the model. Next, I open 3D Builder that comes with Windows, which is a much easier program than Blender to work with. Here, I split the model. First, the branch is way too long. I remove the ends on either side of the bird. This is what I'm going to carve, but it's only 10 centimeters long, and I want it to be bigger than that. So I grow the model up to 25 centimeters. Perfect. But now I need to split it into 3 parts. The first cut is to separate the tree from the bird. So I move the cutting plane just above the bark, cut the model, delete the bird, and save the tree in STL format. Then I get the bird back by pressing Ctrl-Z and erase the tree. Now I need to chop off the head of the bird. To do so, I move the chopping plane in the center of the neck, cut it, delete the head, and save the body. I make the head reappear and delete the body. The last thing to do is to cut off the beak and save the head. With all those STL files, I can open Aspire to create the files I will need for the CNC. It's quite easy. I begin by making a rotary job space the size of the tree. Then I import it. It's as simple as that. But then I need to change the combined mode of both the zero plane and the tree to merge. Here I can have a central axis that's quite big. So I make a zero plane of 20 millimeters. The model is almost ready for the toolpaths. I just need to make 2 rectangles around the model. Now I'm ready for the toolpaths. I select the bigger rectangle and the model and click on the roughing toolpath. Here I don't have much to do. The 6 mm end mill is already selected, so I just need to calculate this. This is what the CNC will cut. Making the finishing pass, it's quite simple. I just select the smaller rectangle, click on the finishing toolpath, and after selecting my 1 mm conical bit, change the feed rate to 3000 millimeters per minute, select the raster strategy, and I can press calculate. The first piece is ready to be carved. But I'm missing 2 more parts. So I make another sheet for the body of the bird, and with this sheet selected, I import it. This time around, there's a little bit more work to do. I have to rotate the body so the central axis goes through its center. But when I add the thickness to the zero plane, I can see that the angle I gave the model was not wide enough. So I need to re-import the body and change the rotation angle. I don't like this, so I need to increase the angle again. This will be perfect. But I'm not done yet. I have to do like I did on the tree and add 2 rectangles around the model. Now I'm able to create the roughing pass and the finishing pass the same way I did for the tree. I'm now missing the last piece of the bird, the head. So I make a new sheet a little smaller than the other two and import the head. On this piece, the central axis will go through the ears. When the head is rotated with the right angle, I import it and do all the same operations I did for the other two parts. But on the head, there's one small difference. I want to drill a hole where the beak will be. For the tool paths, I begin with the roughing pass. Then I drill the hole for the beak, followed by the finishing pass. Here I can see that the hole for the beak is a bit too small. I have to fix this. Now that everything is to my liking, it's time to go inside the shop. The first thing to do is to prepare some basswood. I'm going to begin with the smallest piece, which is the head. After removing the 4 corners, I put it on the CNC chuck and it's a go for the roughing pass. This doesn't take very long, about 20 minutes. After changing for a 1mm conical bit, the hole for the beak can be drilled. When it's done, the finishing pass can begin. This takes just a bit more than 1 hour. Here's the result. The top one is the carving I just finished. The bottom one was a test and was way too small. But I'm not done yet, because there are 2 more carvings to this bird. Now it's time to prepare another piece of basswood and put it on the rotary axis. Then the roughing pass of the bird's body can begin. There's a lot of wood to remove on this piece of wood. The roughing pass takes forever, about 4 hours. After switching the bit, the finishing pass can begin. This will be a nice change from this mess. After just a bit more than 5 hours, here's the result. This is so exciting. But I still have one more part to do. The tree that the woodpecker is perched on. Just like for the other 2 pieces, everything begins with the roughing pass. But since there's not a lot of wood to remove here, this only takes 2 hours. Then comes the finishing pass, which takes about 3 hours. Here's the result. After a bit more than 16 hours, I have managed to carve all the pieces, but it's far from being ready. I need to brush them. There are so many crevices that it's quite hard. Now it's time to remove the part that was not carved. For the body, I use a handsaw. I begin with the Japanese saw. I don't like this type of saw, so I cut the other side with a dovetail saw. But I'm not super bright, because I leave my hand under the bird, and when I finish the cut, I cut myself. Here's what the cut looks like. I can see that I have quite a bit of work to do. So I get the carving chisels out and do a bit of hand carving. First of all, I remove a bit of the central axis that the CNC left. Then I remove some wood under the tail feathers. As you can see, I finish the day with a plaster on my thumb. I frequently check my progress and return to remove some wood. But I'm so dumb that I cut myself again. This time with the chisel. But I still have 3 more fingers with no plaster on. It's quite long to achieve the shape I want. But eventually, I managed to get it. But I'm not done yet, because I still have the neck to carve, because the central axis was there. I also have the head to hand carve. It's quite difficult to simulate feathers. It's a bit harder to hold the head when the other side is cut. But eventually, I'm happy with it. But I'm still missing the beak. I carve it into a corner cutoff. And to save on plasters, I wear a protective glove. This is what everything will look like. This is quite exciting. But first, all this has to be glued together. I begin with the beak. Everything is glued with instant glue. Not bad, but there's a bit too much glue. So I carve it so the beak looks like it's part of the bird. When I'm happy, it's time to glue the head in place. Just like for the beak, I use instant glue. It sticks instantly, and it's impossible to move the head after it's in place. I now need to sculpt the transition between the body and the head. When it's done, I brush it to clean it. But I also need to simulate feathers, where I removed some wood under the body. After a last check, I can glue the bird to the tree. I spread glue under the feathers of the tail, on the legs, and put this in place. I apply some pressure and spray some accelerator. But I'm not done yet, because I need to sculpt the tail feathers to have a seamless transition. After a while, it's done. This is what the model I bought looks like. But I can clearly see that I need a base. To do so, I go back to Aspire and make a job to the size I want the base to be. Then I import the tree and place it upside down so the bottom is facing up. Then I give the model a height of 0.1 millimeter, click on the box to discard data below the zero plane, and import a slice of the tree. I end up with this. But I really don't need the model, just the outline. So I create an outline of the model and delete the slice. I don't need it anymore. I place this outline in the center of the job and make a bigger copy of it. Now I can make a shape by blending both shapes together at a thickness of 34.5 millimeters. This is the general shape of my base, but I'm missing some texture. So I add some bark texture on top of the base. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Now I need to delete the texture that is outside the base and the one that's on top of the base. But I don't want the sculpting to be straight on the base. So I select the central shape and make an angled base of 3 degrees. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I just need to go inside the shop to prepare some cedar. When I have one side straight, I put this on the CNC and make the roughing pass with a 6mm bit. Then I switch for a conical bit and make the finishing pass. After a small end sanding, the base is ready for the rest of the carving. This is really nice. But before drilling some holes, I need to check the angle. Since it's okay, I tilt my drill press table to 3 degrees and drill 2 holes. Next, I insert some centering pins and mark the bottom of the tree. Then I start the holes with a brad point bit and finish them with a normal bit. That's it. The base is finished. But I still need to do something. Sculpt the top of the tree. As a matter of fact, it's not much. I just make sure that the socket is not visible anymore. Here it is, ready to be given to Renée for Christmas. She's really happy, but it's not finished. She has to paint it. She begins by printing some reference pictures. She begins with the base. She brushes several shades of brown to simulate the bark and its texture. She does the exact same thing for the bark of the tree. In fact, the bark looks pretty realistic. With the log completed, she starts to paint the body. She begins with the black. In fact, it's the most predominant color of this bird. But unfortunately, she finished painting the bird while I was snowmobiling. So I don't have any pictures of the fastidious work she did. But when it's all done, I need to glue both parts together. After removing the paint stain under the base, I can burn my logo and the date. Then I can apply glue on the dowels and all the raw wood to finally clamp this. Now I just need to wait about half an hour to spray the first coat of lacquer. The first coat is a glossy lacquer, but I spray satin for the second one. When the lacquer is dry, we can finally put the bird in place between the kitchen and the stairs that go into the basement. This is really a nice place to show off our work. I must admit that I'm super happy with the final result, especially with all the details we can see. But I have to say that the most impressive thing is all the details Renée revealed with her painting. They're unbelievable. This is the woodpecker that I sculpted at the CNC last Christmas that Renée painted. I wish you a Merry Christmas and we will see each other again in 2025 on the Woodpecker.